Hi there, and welcome to the Alberta Update and look at what's happening in your province. I am your host, Bruce McAllister. Thank you for being with us today. Today, Premier Danielle Smith will join us. We have lots to talk about. Ottawa's plastics ban, the federal electric vehicle mandate, and the latest on Alberta's economic outlook heading into 2024. Minister of Transportation and Economic Corridors, Devin Dreeshen, will pop by with some very good news for Albertans. And Municipal Affairs Minister Rick McIver will be here. We will chat with the minister about some funding changes to municipalities and discuss some developments on the housing front as well. All that straight ahead on the Alberta Update. Here to kick it off, though, is the Premier, and we're going to start things off with some positive news. First of all, we say good day, Premier. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Bruce.
I see our credit rating was upgraded, and that is very good news. It would seem that your strategy to invest and pay off debt is working.
Well, I think it's important to know just how significant that is, because when we get a higher rating, it means that we pay lower interest charges when we go to renew our debt. And we've got a lot of debt being renewed over the next 3 years. You have to remember, a lot of debt was racked up under the Notley years. But we got up to nearly $80 billion worth of debt. In fact, more, because we ended up paying $13 billion down last year. We want to make sure that the debt is on a permanent downward track, ultimately having in the line of sight to be debt-free again. It's why we've put 50% of all surpluses are going to go towards debt repayment. And I'm glad to see that the credit rating agencies are noticing, because when that $26 billion comes up for renewal, obviously we don't have money sitting in the bank to pay it off. It is sadly going to have to be renewed at higher rates, double the rates that we did initially. It's going to increase our finance charges, but we'll get a little bit of a bonus that will have lower rates. And so a little bit less in interest, which means we'll have more money to be able to meet our commitments to Albertans.
Hey, another week and another whopper of an announcement from the federal government. This time it's the electric vehicle mandate. They want to get us all off of gas-powered vehicles, and they want to do it in short order. Premier, is it even possible what they're proposing?
No, it's not possible. And everybody has said so as well, which is the thing I find so remarkable. It's like everybody is looking at the naked emperor thinking he has clothes and nobody wants to say it. Well, as you know, I am not afraid to speak truth. And here's the reality that we face. One is that not only would it be impossible to ramp up the production to that level, that's one thing you have to keep in mind, is the entire country buys about 1.5 million cars a year. So you're talking about ramping up the level of EV production so that 20% of that volume in 2 short years is going to be electric vehicle. That's one reason why I think it's going to be impossible. The second part of the problem is that people aren't buying them. If you look at what's happening in the United States, both GM and Ford have just scaled back their production because they've got a bunch of inventory growing on their parking lots, because people are concerned about charging stations. They're concerned about the cost of batteries. They're concerned about range and what happens if they don't have the right range. And so it's not the kind of car that works for everyone. Number 3 is we want to build out a hydrogen infrastructure. We've already demonstrated that's the direction we're going with the investment in Air Products, which is a net zero hydrogen facility. They'll be producing hydrogen fueling stations. Edmonton International bought 100 hydrogen Toyota Mirais, and we bought 3 of them from them. So we've started our fleet of hydrogen vehicles in our government, where we launched and helped supported the hydrogen buses that are piloted right now in Edmonton and Strathcona. We're working to do dual fuel vehicles to convert semi trucks. But this is the point. This is all early stage. None of that is going to be available by 2026 to roll out so that it's 20%. So the other aspect is the power grid. The power grid cannot support more than 2 plug-in vehicles on a block. People have to upgrade their homes so that they can accommodate fast chargers. The grid needs to be upgraded so it could accommodate that. And in addition to that, think of all of the cost associated with the batteries that are needed to make sure that we can continue with this kind of volume. We've got a number of investments being made in Eastern Canada, but they're not going to be up and running. Stellantis isn't going to be up and running with batteries by the time we get to 2026. So you're looking at all of this just thinking, this is nothing but magical thinking. The impact is going to be severe, though. I mean, I've told people that we better buckle up, because we're going to end up seeing rationing of gas-powered vehicles. When I talked to the manufacturers, this is what they told me. If we only buy 2,000 electric vehicles in this market, it means to be able to meet their 20% target, they're only going to be allowed to sell 8,000 gas powered vehicles. So, in a province that sells 200,000 or buys 200,000 vehicles a year, that means that by the end of January, we're going to be into rationing and you're going to have to get on a list to wait till next year. That's the only way I can see this working. And I want people to be prepared for it because it's not doable, but it's going to have an enormous impact on the lives of everyday Albertans.
Well, I'd like to see more premiers across the country speaking out against it. Premier, I'm glad you are. You just gave us a lot of reasons to be concerned with it. The consumer choice ought to matter in this as well. Listen, let's talk about the plastics ruling. I know the federal government has decided to appeal the ruling, of course, and your government made an announcement this week about that.
Yep, I know that the federal government has two options when they lose in court. One is to appeal, and one is to say, "Yep, the court's right. We'll change the law," and that's what they should have done in this case. The plastics are not toxic. Let's be very clear about that. Just even look around at your desk, and look around through the course of the day and see how many times you come into contact with plastic. I'm just perusing my desk, and almost, there's probably 20 objects on my desk that are made of plastic. That's not the same as asbestos. It's not the same as mercury. Like those are truly toxic substances that do have to be regulated in a different way. What they were doing is they were making an arbitrary designation of plastics as toxic so that they could justify using the criminal law power to enter into our area of jurisdiction, and they got called out on it. The court said it was unreasonable. The court said it was unconstitutional. And what did the government do? Well, they're appealing it. They're making us continue to fight it out in court. And we're going to do it. We're going to meet them every step of the way. I just wish that they would do the right thing, recognize that there's a better way for us to manage plastics with recycling. We're starting to unroll our extended producer responsibility program next year. I think there's going to be all kinds of uses for plastics to be collected and mechanically disaggregated or chemically disaggregated so that they can be turned into useful products. That's the direction we should be going, as opposed to, wooden cutlery and
Mhm,
paper
mhm.
straws. That's not going to have the kind of impact on the environment that we're looking for.
100%. Look, it's been a tumultuous year to say the least when it comes to dealing with the federal government. The plastics, the electricity grid, now the electric vehicles. What do you see going forward in 2024? Are they going to relent? Will your strategy change any?
My strategy from the beginning is to really engage in a spirit of cooperative federalism. I talked, as I've said to you before, I have always talked about how we want to align our carbon neutral targets to 2050, work with the federal government where we can, and we have been able to. I mean, there's exciting things that are happening. Our net zero hydrogen is going to build out new transportation fuels. Our net zero Dow petrochemical plant is going to create a whole new stream of petrochemical products and plastics that are net zero. Heidelberg's net zero cement facility will be the first in the world, and it will it'll eliminate the CO2 emissions for a major construction material. We're hoping to be able to get a net zero steel plant as well to help with additional decarbonization of construction materials. And those are really practical things that we can work with the federal government on. We know that our friends in Saskatchewan and New Brunswick and Ontario are pursuing small modular nuclear, and so we want to partner with them on that. I think that there's an appetite now to see if it will work in our market. And we're going to continue building out the hydrogen infrastructure as well, so that we can offer more alternatives for zero emissions vehicles for our citizens. But why not work collaboratively? This is what I'm just scratching my head over. Why does the environment minister continue to make unilateral pronouncements in our area of jurisdiction that are clearly unlawful, clearly in violation of the Constitution, clearly harmful to consumers, and get away with it? So I would say that I will have a constructive relationship with those federal ministers that want one. But I can tell you, I've already determined that Stephen Guilbeault is not one of them. He's an ideologue. You have to remember, like, he climbed the roof of our premier, Ralph Klein, as an advocate when he was an environmental advocate. Extremist. I mean, I guess he still is, but we also had him climb the roof of the CN, or climb the CN Tower. These are the stunts that he pulled. It's kind of appalling, really, that somebody who has that kind of history was made the environment minister. And I don't think he's even issued an apology to our province for how he disrespected our former premier. So I have to tell you, I had hoped that with the passage of time, that he might have moderated, might be somebody that we can work with. But I think the only way we can reset with the environment ministry federally is to have a change of minister. I've been pretty forthright about that. I think you can't deal with somebody who's as ideological and as disrespectful as he is.
Well, I know I speak on behalf of a lot of Albertans when I say thank you for standing up for us continually to Ottawa. Listen, Premier, Merry Christmas to you, to David, and the entire family. Do me a favor, would you? Over the holidays, take a break, take some downtime.
I'll have a couple of days to see family, but Merry Christmas to you too, Bruce, and we'll see you in the new year.
There's Premier Danielle Smith today. And we should mention the next Alberta Update program will be January the 4th, and it won't be your typical program like this. What we're going to do is a sit-down one-on-one. Premier and I are going to reflect on the year that was and look ahead to 2024. Again, one-on-one with the Premier on January the 4th, and that goes live to YouTube at 7 p.m. Well, enough is enough. That is the message from Alberta's Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services, Mike Ellis. This coming after a recent string of violence in Alberta's larger cities. Here is Minister Ellis now with a strong message to perpetrators of crime.
Hi, I'm Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services, Mike Ellis. And before I was ever elected, I was a police officer in Calgary. I want to read about a crime that happened recently on Alberta streets. So please, listen. A female patron was exiting an Edmonton mall on a weekday evening when she was approached by a masked man who attempted to rob her. She fled to a nearby vehicle, who was let inside by the Good Samaritan. The suspect then approached the vehicle and pointed the gun at the driver before moving towards and shooting someone who was unlocking their bicycle. The suspect continued carjacking at gunpoint another female before speeding away and crashing her vehicle. After a foot chase, the suspect was apprehended by the Edmonton Police Service and was found to be in possession of a sawed-off shotgun, multiple rounds of ammunition, and 27 grams of methamphetamine. At the time of the offenses, the suspect was on a release order for aggravated assault with a firearm and has a lifetime firearms ban and weapons ban. So just a few months ago, a father of 7 tragically murdered, also being reported as random. The alleged offender was out on bail, living in a tent not too far from the station. News outlets reported that the alleged offender had a long criminal history, including assault and robbery. Also, there was a shooting on a moving bus in Calgary, stabbings on a C-train platforms, and a flare gun attack engulfing a man in flames inside a station, which are just some of the violent attacks in Calgary making people feel unsafe. These stories are heartbreaking when we consider the suffering of the victims and their families, and they are equally frustrating when we hear about the alleged perpetrators. Random shootings, random murders, from alleged offenders who are apparently out on bail or release. Everyone knows that our bail system is broken when repeat offenders can repeat crimes so easily. This bail system was brought in by the Trudeau government, and it has been devastating for every province, not just Alberta. Well, Albertans have had enough. Our government has had enough. I personally have had enough. And that's why earlier this year, Premier Smith stood up and issued a demand letter to the Prime Minister, along with every single premier in Canada, to fix our nation's broken bail system. And it worked. Parliament passed amendments to the bail reform. That's also why we're delivering on another of our spring promises, increasing officer presence in the core areas of Edmonton or Calgary with 100 new police officers. It's why I've also been working closely with the Minister of Justice, Mickey Amery, to create a specialized prosecution unit to address deteriorating safety in Alberta's major urban centers, along with a new strategy to ensure criminals and gang members are detained and effectively prosecuted. And it's why we are also looking at ways to decrease open-air drug use in illegal encampments. so people can live and enjoy their cities without worrying about their safety. Alberta will continue doing all that we can and what we must to ensure that every person feels safe, and will continue taking concrete action.
As Minister Ellis just said, increasing public safety is a major priority for the Alberta government, as Albertans have a right to walk through their communities or take public transit and feel safe in their communities. That is why Alberta's government is investing over $12 million to support the hiring of 100 new additional police officers in Calgary and in Edmonton. These new officers will help target high crime areas like transit centers and the downtown cores as well. Adding more boots on the ground is welcome news to the chiefs of police in both Edmonton and Calgary.
To say these resources are greatly needed is an understatement. In the past year, we have watched violent incidents, as I mentioned, like weapons, firearms, knives, increase at an alarming rate, and this is not welcome and must be addressed.
The addition of these new officers is going to help us to create several new teams in the city whose primary role will be to focus on individuals involved in committing crimes, obviously, but also on those high systems users across our city. In working with our partners in the judicial and social support areas, we're going to aim to provide a more individualized case management approach to effect real change in the lives of these individuals and to lessen the impact that they're having on the communities in Calgary.
The Alberta government has also expanded the Safer Communities and Neighbourhood units in Alberta to help tackle problem properties in residential communities throughout the province. Great news for Calgary drivers, as the last phase of Stoney Trail is now open to traffic. The West Calgary Ring Road was the final piece of the project. It has been completed ahead of schedule. And joining us now to talk more about this major milestone is Transportation and Economic Corridors Minister Devin Dreeshen. Good day, Minister.
Good day, Bruce. It's great to be on your show again.
Great to have you. Listen, how does it feel to have this behemoth of a project completed?
Well, incredible. This last phase was $1.2 billion out of a total of a $4 billion project. So just great to see that this will not just help out for people on the west side of Calgary, but even within the city. Sarcee Trail, 16th, there's so many other roads that are now going to have a lot less travel time, because just the rerouting of traffic throughout Calgary is going to become a lot more seamless, and just really good news for Calgary and the province.
You know, many people, when they think of the Ring Road, Minister, I think they probably think over the last 10 years or so and all of the developments. This project, though, goes back a lot further than that, doesn't it?
Yeah, you look at actually the Social Credit Party back in the 50s had a dream of building a ring road around Calgary. And then obviously in the 70s, Premier Lougheed, his government actually started to buy the land to make sure there was a transportation corridor, utility corridor around the city. And then you look at, since 1999, all the different transportation ministers and premiers that have had their fingerprints on this project. So it's really been an incredible, historic province building project, and it's great to finally see it completed.
Well, it's funny. We'll have Minister McIver on here in a few minutes to chat, and I know he played a big role in this as well. And, when he was transportation minister, so I'm sure he, as many others, are happy to see it completed. Listen, let's shift gears a little bit. Another announcement that your government made this week, you're increasing the property damage collision reporting threshold to $5,000. What does it mean for drivers who are involved in fender benders? What do they need to know?
So it means a lot less time for them when they have to go through an accident. So right now, if you got into a fender bender, your bumper, your tail light got knocked out, if it's $2,000 or more, you'd have to actually go to the RCMP, you'd have to report it, or go to a collision center and report. And you'd actually take hours out of your day to go into to report really a minor accident. And that was gobbling up not just Albertans' time, but also police time, because there's about 90,000 accidents that had to be reported last year. So with this threshold now being 5,000, you're going to have all these minor fender benders taken out of the system, and really just free up policing time as well as Albertans' time.
Minister, another year is almost behind us. Looking back and reflecting a bit, what would you say the major accomplishments are for your ministry? I suppose the Ring Road would be one of them.
Ring Road is obviously huge, and looking forward, we made some really good initiatives on Highway 686. That's a highway from Fort McMurray, essentially across over to Grand Prairie, where we've actually worked with 3 First Nations to allow them to kind of be in the driver's seat when it comes to consultation and to figure out where exactly the best line on the map would be for this new 200 plus kilometer road. So I think, working with First Nations and working with the construction industry, the road building industry, to make sure that we can build our province faster, as well as get value for taxpayers' money. That's an initiative that's been started this year, and we'll see where it goes in the next 4 years.
Minister, Merry Christmas, and you too enjoy a break over the season.
Thanks. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thanks, Bruce.
There's Minister of Transportation and Economic Corridors, Devin Dreeshen. Well, thousands of Albertans who rely on social benefits are acutely impacted by the increased cost of living. To support those who need it most, the province is indexing financial benefits for Albertans who depend on the assured income, for the severely handicapped, for income support, and the Alberta Seniors Benefit. Albertans receiving these benefits will see their rates increase by 4.25%, effective on January the 1st. Indexing benefits is a critical measure to support thousands of vulnerable Albertans and their families who are struggling due to inflation. The Alberta government is delivering on a demand from Alberta's 330 municipalities with a plan to provide stable, predictable, and sustainable funding for priority projects. Minister of Municipal Affairs Rick McIver joins us now to talk more about this. Minister, welcome. Great to see you.
Great to be here with you, Bruce. Thank you.
You will be launching the local government fiscal framework in 2024. What is it? And how is it going to impact Alberta municipalities?
Okay, well, this is something I think will be of great interest to municipalities and by extension to all Albertans. Back in 2007, the Alberta government launched what was then the main capital funding program through municipal affairs to municipalities called the Municipal Sustainability Initiative. This year, which our government fiscal year, of course, ends March 31st, will be the last year of the MSI. And that is being replaced by what's called the Local Government Fiscal Framework. Okay, so it's got a different name. So I guess the other question is, so what's changed? Well, the amount of money to start with, at least, is the same. But what's important here is this is an example of our government saying yes to municipalities. This is something they've asked for a long time. They've always said, we want to share with the prosperity of Alberta. When we see the provincial revenue going up, we think it's only fair that the municipal capital funding revenue should go up. And the municipality said, in fairness to them, they said, and what in return for that, we would agree with when the provincial revenue goes down, then our revenue can go down too by the same percentage. So it took a little while, but we said yes.
Yes, you did. And look, you may have just touched on this, Minister, but I'll follow up anyway. How does it differ from the current municipal funding model, and what kind of projects will it support?
Well, here's the great thing. One of the best things about this is that that's up to the municipality. They have, I won't say they have 100% flexibility, but pretty darn close. Almost anything that a municipality needs to do if they want to invest in the pipes under the ground, the water and sewer pipes, parks, even capital for vehicles that they need to run municipal operations, to anything, the municipal buildings, basically whatever a municipality needs to do and build with capital, the LGFF is flexible enough for them that we almost always say yes. So that's a great thing, because when you try to be too prescriptive with the program, then of course, if 10 municipalities just finished upgrading all their water and sewer pipes, and you have a program just for water and sewer pipes, then those 10 municipalities are left out. If you have a program for rec centers and another 10 municipalities just did that, then they're left out. This is like whatever you need right now for the greatest use, the greatest need of your citizens in your municipality. The answer is basically yes. So that's very good, and so starts out. And here's a great thing: people aren't always happy when we make funding announcements, because with municipalities it's never enough, and that's not a criticism of them. It's their job actually to ask for more, because there's never enough money for them. So consistent with that, the Alberta municipalities within the last 3-4 days said our new funding formula is good. They like it. They like the way we've broken it out. And what's interesting about it is it's principles based. We talked to municipalities. We did a great deal of consultation. So it was different weightings for different elements. One for population, one for capital assets, one for kilometers of road, one for how old your capital assets are, because as they depreciate, they need fixing sooner. And so they did say they wanted more money. No big surprise there. That's just them doing their job right. But they actually said, and I was quite gratified, our staff in municipal affairs worked very hard, and we listened very hard to municipalities across province. And when we developed the principles and the formula that we're using, they love the formula, and I doubt the day will ever come when they say the money they get is enough.
Well, kudos to your team. I know you worked really hard at it. Hey, coming out of the first meetings, Minister, first ministers meeting, easy for me to say, in Halifax this year, the Premier made some comments about the Feds staying in their lanes when it comes to dealing with cities. What did she mean by that? How are you going to make sure that happens going into 2024?
Well, you know what? Under the Constitution of Canada, and I'm not a constitutional expert, but in broad terms, I feel comfortable saying that the municipalities are not recognized in Canada's Constitution as an order of government, but we provinces, Alberta certainly does recognize them as an order of government. So we create legislation that they operate under the Municipal Government Act, but they're still subject to the legislation that we put in place. So when the federal, under the Constitution, when the federal government wants to deal with municipalities, they are actually required to go through the province to say, this is what we want to offer to the municipalities. Let's find a way to do on this together. Well, our current federal government, that I don't think it's any secret to anybody, they've been fully hostile to Alberta for basically since current prime minister has been in place, have been doing their very best to end run the provinces, including Alberta. And so what we are going to do is try to put a stop to that, because it's about politics. It's not actually about giving better services to municipalities. Everybody wants to do that. So Quebec is a model that we won't follow exactly, but we'll use as a good example is that they've just made it illegal for municipalities to deal directly with the federal government without their approval. So we will do something probably similar in the spring's legislative session. And again, it's not about giving municipalities less support. We hope it'll give them more support. Right now, Alberta, with about 14% of Canada's population, there was one big program recently where we got 2.5% of the federal funding. Ridiculous. Quebec, on the other hand, gets more than the percentage of funding based on their population. So, well, we're not criticizing Quebec. We're saying we're going to learn from what seems to be working well for them, and we're going to tell the federal government to stay in their lane. If you want to deal with municipalities, talk to us. We want to help municipalities too.
You may have been alluding to housing affordability, where some of that money was directed in 2.5%, or maybe not. There's so many programs.
That was a housing formula. And here's the thing: we want to support. There's about 330 municipalities in Alberta, and we want to support them all. Now, the federal government probably won't forget Edmonton and Calgary, but they're likely to forget Stettler and Milk River and high level and smaller municipalities. And the fact is, so we need to say, no, you know what? We will work with the municipalities. We'll work with you too, the federal government. You just got to stop trying to ignore it. Stop ignoring the Constitution. Work with us and give us our fair share of funding. And municipalities in Alberta, I believe, will do better.
How about housing affordability, Minister? It's a tough one. What is your ministry doing to address it and ease those concerns for Albertans?
Well, we will be coming out very shortly with a housing affordability program led by my good friend and colleague, Jason Nixon. But Municipal Affairs will be working on that too. We're contributing, I dare say, heavily for a program that will come out. So our job is a couple things. One is to make sure that the red tape is out of the way, that approvals happen faster, that when somebody comes, because here's what we believe we know, is that we need, just in Alberta, in the next 10 years, 130,000 homes on top of what we already believe will get built. It's not mission impossible, but it is a big task. We need to get busy. So our job is to make sure that to work with municipalities to get more affordable housing approved. And maybe that's also working with the building industry and bringing them and us and the municipalities together to say, how can we deliver these homes that Albertans need, both affordable and attainable, and get it, work with them, get it done. We're looking at tax incentives to somebody's going to build affordable housing to maybe give them a holiday on some of the taxes they pay for a period of time to incent them. This is the details will all be announced here shortly, but it's a big effort. All hands need to be on deck to get this done. We're going to work closely with municipalities. We're going to do it with them, not to them. And we are going, and the same with industry. We're going to work with them and say, look, come to the table. You said you want to help. We believe you. So let's actually get together. And of course, I don't know, when you're in separate rooms, Bruce, people say, well, they're the problem. You know, they might say the province is the problem and the industry is the problem. The industry says the cities and the province are the problem. And so once everybody's in the same room, you find that you can get past those things and solve the problems and actually get on with the job.
Listen, before I let you go, Minister, what's going to happen in the McIver household over Christmas? Are you gonna tickle the keys to that piano I see behind you?
No, I won't be playing any piano, but I'll be very happy to have kids and grandkids over and many friends over for some food and entertainment and just enjoying each other's company and some time not going to work for a few days. I love my job, but time off is pretty darn important too.
You bet. You enjoy. Merry Christmas to you, to Christine, to the entire family, Minister, and we will see you in the new year.
Merry Christmas, Bruce, and yes, thanks for all you do, and to Albertans, Merry Christmas to you too. You were lucky to serve you, and 2024 we need to all make better. Thanks.
You bet. Minister Rick McIver, Municipal Affairs Minister, joining us on the program. And that does it for the Alberta Update this week, as we bring you a look into what's happening in your province, what your government is up to, and you can always view the Alberta Update on YouTube, on your Alberta YouTube page, or the Premier's at AB Danielle Smith. Make sure to subscribe by searching Your Alberta or AB Danielle Smith on YouTube, then hit the subscribe button. And a reminder, our next update will be January the 4th, and what we're going to do is have a sit-down one-on-one interview. The Premier and I will discuss the year that has been in 2023. We'll look ahead to 2024, and I'll see if I can't come up with some questions that she's not expecting. And so we'll look forward to that conversation. You can watch it January the 4th, 7 p.m. It goes live to YouTube, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here then. Of course, until then, from all of us at the Government of Alberta, have a safe and wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.